And good afternoon, everyone. Hello and welcome to the SkyTab POS Employee Webinar Series, Introduction to SkyTab POS. My name is Rob Lynch, and I'm one of the corporate instructors here at Shift4, and it's an absolute pleasure to be with you today to explore some of the key SkyTab POS features. Today, we're going to focus on the very basic introductory functions within the POS, such as logging in and out, clocking in and out, the basic tabs and general navigation. We'll look at drop-down menus and take a quick look at the order and host functions. Let's go ahead and get started and look at the main login screen for SkyTab POS. Okay, we've got our main screen up here now. We can take a look. I want to point several different items out here that might be really important to you as an employee. And we'll look at these before we even get logged in to into the POS system. First of all, we have a pin pad, and we see that pin pad here kind of in the center right. And the pin pad is where we're going to enter our PIN credentials, our permission to go ahead and get into SkyTab POS. Now, for some of you, you may be issued a swipe card. And that swipe card will be, you will swipe that on the side reader of your POS terminal, and that will enter you into the system. It just really depends on what your manager, your administration for the particular bar, restaurant, nightclub, whatever your business is, how they have you set up. So you can either enter your PIN or use the swipe card to be able to gain access to the POS system. But I do want to point out several different items here on our SkyTab POS so you can see those. The first thing I want to point out is there's a message right up here. You'll see a star and then you'll see a message. This is a customizable message that your managers, your owners, administration can go ahead and set up in SkyTab POS to give really important messages that you may need when you start your shift. So perhaps it's something about an all-employee meeting that's going to be on Saturday, or maybe we're closing the deck or the outside seating area today because of weather. Whatever that might be, they can go ahead and place that message right up here at the top so that when people go ahead to log in, they can see the message right away. So that's kind of a neat function. It's something that your managers will want you to take a look at before you log in. A couple other items I want to show you. We have the date up here at the top. We also have our terminal number, and we have the time listed here as well. Down in the bottom center, we have some information. It's kind of grayed out, but you can see it here. And this tells the version of software we're running. It tells the serial number of our specific terminal, and it also tells the IP address that we're connected to. I point these out to you because there might be a time, depending on your position with your organization, maybe you're the head wait, or maybe you are the head barkeeper or head bartender, that you may need to request support from Shift4 on your POS, and they will probably need this information. They may ask you for the information. This way you'll know how to find it. So that's kind of the right-hand side of the screen here that has our pin pad and the information that we need to pay attention to. Over on the left-hand side, we have another menu here, and this is a menu that's displayed all the time. Now, depending on if your managers or owners have set up your system, your terminal, with a caller ID function, it's a separate module that connects to the POS, you can get all the calls that have come in. You can see all of them listed by phone number and by time that they came in, even what line that somebody called in. And that can come in really handy, especially if you're in the host function or even the server function, that you can see when people did make the call into the establishment. Another thing I want to point out is we do have a tab here for online orders. If your organization takes online orders, you'll have all of those listed here in this section as well. And you'll be able to toggle up and down, and you'll be able to scroll through those as well. So a couple of neat things that are right on the front of the screen, and we haven't even logged in yet. The last thing I want to point out, and this will be really important to you guys that are servers and bartenders, really anybody who places an order, and that's this item tracking tab. This is something that your management, your owners can go ahead and set up in the background where we track specific items. It's a really cool function because the last thing you want to do is go out to a table and take their order, place the order, and find out from the kitchen that we're out of that particular item. We've 86'd it. So we don't want to do that. So we can see this item tracking, and then as all the other servers and anybody else placing orders are placing orders for these items, it will count down, and we can see how many of each of the items are left. And you guys know that there are certain items that are hard to prep, maybe things that need to be thawed out that you really can't do on the fly. So it's really important that you have this item tracking thing to be able to see different menu items. And this is specific to menu items, different menu items as we're running out. Or maybe it's a holiday and you have a special that you're running for that particular holiday. And you can see I've got in here Thanksgiving dinner. We can see we have 75 of those left. And so again, you don't want to go out to the table without knowing how many you have. If you're down to 10 and you're doing a 12 top and all 12 people want Thanksgiving dinner, you're not going to be able to do that. So it really helps out in that too. So on this left-hand side, you have the caller ID, you have the item tracking, and you have the online orders, which are really, really helpful. So let's go ahead and get logged in to SkyTab POS. And we're going to enter a PIN number to get logged in. And I am entering that first of all. So once I enter my PIN number for the first time of the day, the system is going to want me to log in. And it'll really depend on what job you do, how you log in. So if you are a busser, for example, if your position is as the busser, and I have a lot of positions listed here because I'm demonstrating a lot of different positions, but let's just say I'm the busser. And so I'm going to be the busser today. I'm going to select that. And when I select that, it's going to pop up and ask me what till to use. In my case, I only have two choices here, either cancel it or no cash drawer. And what it's asking is if I'm a server or I'm a person taking orders or I'm a manager, I'm going to have the selection of different cash drawers. And I'm going to get into that when we talk about logging in as a server here in just a moment. But I'm just doing the busing function. So I'm not really going to be taking anybody's money today. So I don't need any kind of a cash drawer. So I'm going to select no cash drawer. If I select cancel, it's going to do the same thing, but it's going to log me out of the system and I'll have to log back in. And I don't want to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and select no cash drawer. So what that does is it brings me to this page. It shows me what I'm logged in as, what time my shift started, how many hours I've worked so far, how many hours for the pay period, if I worked any overtime. This is where I'm going to clock out. This is where I can go on break. And then there's a shift report that I'll get to in just a moment. It also lists all my other shifts that I've worked during this period. You can see all the different shifts that I've worked. I have the ability to put in cash tips here if I did receive any cash tips. And sometimes we tip out the busser. So there may be cash tips that the busser received. But basically, as a busser, I'm going to be using SkyTab POS to log in and log out. That's all I'm going to, clock in or clock out. That's really all I'm going to do with this, is to clock in or clock out. My selections are very limited. What I can do with the POS system depends on how the manager has set that up for me. In the case of this busser position, there's really not a lot I can do besides clocking in and clocking out. So let's go ahead and clock out as a busser. And it's going to ask me if I'm sure, if I really want to end my shift right now. I go ahead and select OK. It gives me this little display, and this display is going to pop up for every employee in the restaurant and basically, or in the bar. It's what we call a shift report, and it's kind of a neat deal because it's a way for you as the employee to be able to keep track of all your own hours. You can keep track of your start dates, your end dates, how much time you took on break, any overtime hours that you might have had, and where you're at with your pay period for the total during the pay period time, what you have. Really, really helpful. Now you can either look at it or you can print it. I suggest to all the restaurant owners that I know, go ahead and have your employees, you guys go ahead and print this. It's something that you can have to keep track of your own hours to see where you're at with your paycheck, with the important thing, the paycheck and the hours. So really nice, this shift report, and you'll get that whenever you clock out. Let's go ahead and select done. And now I have clocked out as a busser. I'm no longer in the system as a busser. Let's go ahead and clock in as a server this time, because there's some more things I want to show you guys, and you can see it a little bit better if I clock in as a server, because I have the server set up with a lot more functionality. So let's go ahead and select server. Now it's going to ask me about that cash till to use, and I see other possibilities here that I probably didn't see before. I can either select no cash drawer. So if I'm working as a server and I'm not actually taking payment for anything, and it's possible that I have a cashier on site up at the host stand that takes all the cash for everything, I'm not going to have a cash drawer. Maybe I do have a cash drawer, and when we say cash drawer, we're talking a physical, mechanical cash drawer that pops out when you make a sale. Or we have what's called a personal till, and this is probably the most common that you see in the restaurant business. And what that is it's the actual employee has their own till that they make payments out of, that they can work with. So I'm going to go ahead and select that personal till. And now my manager has already preset that we start our personal tills with $20. So I have $20 on my person, and that's what I'm going to start with, so that I know I'm going to make change out of that $20. So I'm going to select continue. And now I am logged in as a server. I've got my till open at $20. I'm logged in. I'm ready to go for my shift. Now, something else the managers have done in the background here is they have set this up so that whenever I log in as a server, it goes right to the order entry screen. Now, we're going to look at each one of these other tabs, these other screens. But for now, it takes us right to the order entry screen because I'm a server. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be taking orders. So it takes me here first. From this screen, I have the ability to do a lot of different things. I have the ability to see all of my tickets. I have the ability to search for tickets. I can look at open tickets, completed tickets, specifically online orders if I want. I can reopen the last ticket that I had, or I can start a new ticket. Let's go ahead and start a new ticket. So when I select start a new ticket, this screen will pop up. And what I'm seeing here, because I am in Dine In, right now I'm in Dine In. That's, again, what my manager has defaulted this to. SkyTab POS, completely customizable. Your managers can set this up so it works for you in whatever you do. If your particular restaurant is counter only or does mostly delivery or takeout or something like that, they can set it up so that you don't see this screen, that you go right to the order ticket. In this case, I'm seeing the screen because the restaurant I work at is a steakhouse, and I have a dining room, and I also have a bar. And we seat in the bar as well. So there are the lounge tables are set up here as well. And we'll get to the host mode in a minute on how we control all those tables. But right now, let's focus on the ticket. So we can do a couple things with the ticket. We can go ahead and get a ticket started. Now, we do have to select a table. I have to be assigned to a table. I can't just randomly open a ticket. So in this case, I'm going to be assigned to table 11. And you can see that this is how it is organized. I can see all these different departments listed here, from liquor and beverages and appetizers and entrees and beef and chicken and pork. This is how we organize the menu, and that's done by your managers. They get all this set up for you guys. You just come in and you start taking the orders and you sell items. So in this case, we start with liquor because liquor and beverages, typically we want to take that liquor or beverage order right off the bat. And we have the ability to go ahead and select whatever we want. In this case, let's select a tequila. So I've selected that tequila. Now when I click on the tequila, I can see all the different garnishes and mixers and prep on what I want to do to send that off. You're going to learn a whole lot more about taking orders in the webinars. We have a webinar specifically for employees on showing how to manage tickets and some tips on how to do it very quickly as well. But we can see we can make all sorts of selections here. There's all sorts of things we can do with this item. We can duplicate it. We can add in special requests. We can make it as part of coursing. We can hold the item. A lot of different things. You'll learn all about those in the employee webinar for doing orders and tickets. Today, we're just doing a complete overview of what we can see. So I've gone ahead and select my tequila, and in this case, I'm going to do it with lime, and I'm really not going to have any. Well, let's say we want to have it on the rocks. I'm going to put it on the rocks here. Okay, so I've gone ahead and selected that. I go back up here to show menu, and I got my menu again. Now I can take the next person's order and the next person's order. But maybe this person said, you know, I don't want it on the rocks after all. I can go ahead and select the item again and change anything that I want to change here. I don't want it on the rocks, so I take that off. Okay, so we can remove items, all sorts of different things we can do here as well. So yeah, back to show menu. The other thing we can do is we can take payments from this page. And you can see where it has take payment down here. And we have what's called fast cash. If somebody gave me a $10 bill, all I have to do is select the $10 bill here. We're going to skip the loyalty phone number for now and see that I automatically give them the change of $4.55. And I'm done. I can either print their receipt or no receipt and close the ticket. So I'm closing the ticket. Now we look up here and I can open a new ticket if I want, or I can go over to this completed item and see that completed ticket that I just closed out. So there's a lot of things we can do. We can place the orders. We can modify the orders. We can hold the orders. We can duplicate the orders. We can do lots of different things with the tickets and the orders, and we explain a lot more about that in the ticket and order section. So a couple other things I want to draw your attention to here as well. So we went to because we signed in as a server, we went to the order tab. That's where it defaulted to. It's always going to come back to the order tab for me because that's what my manager has set up for me. But I have a couple other tabs here I want to show you. One is the caller ID tab. This shows the same information as we see on the main login screen if we have caller ID connected. If we have that module connected with caller ID, we're going to see this information here as well. So even though I default to the order tab, the order entry screen, I can look at the caller ID screen as well. Let's go to the host screen. Now, if I log in as a host, my manager probably has this set up as the default screen. And this is how our hosts and hostesses manage their dining rooms. And I kind of want to take you through some of this as well, because sometimes we have servers that work as hosts. Sometimes we have hosts that work as servers as well. So you can do this from this page. So if I log in as a host, I'm going to come to this page automatically, and we can see all the different tables here. Now, this table layout in this selection, this is set up by your managers through a system called Lighthouse Business Manager. As employees, you don't need to know so much about that with the SkyTab POS, but that's kind of a back office way that they're able to put all of this information in here for you. So in this case, my manager has set up these 21 tables for me. And that's in our dining room. I'm going to go ahead and select bar, and now I see the lounge configuration of tables. And now from the bar configuration or from the dining room configuration, there's a whole bunch of things I can do now as a host. When a customer comes in, I can ask them for their name, and I can plug their name in up here. Or I can go to our customer database. You're going to learn more about the customer database here in a moment. And I can select the customer database, and I can bring that up, and I can actually select a customer from all the different customers that we have in the database. I'm going to get to that tab in just a minute. So for now, let's hop out of there and go back to the host screen. So I have the host screen here. I can place the customer's name. I can select the size of party, how many people that I want. I can go ahead and I can start a ticket. There are some restaurants, some bars that operate where the host or the hostess, when they seat a party, they'll go ahead and open the ticket at that point. Sometimes they'll take a drink order. That's possible. So I can actually do that from here as well. I can assign them to a table, and you'll learn all about all these different colors and how these tables operate in our host webinar. We have an employee webinar just for the host mode, and that's where you learn on how all these buttons work and how all this information. Again, we're just doing an introduction today, just kind of an overview, so we won't get into that in that much detail, but we do have that other webinar for the host function as well. So we've got our customer database we can go into. We can set up a new ticket. We can also start a wait list. If our restaurant's really busy and we need to put people on a wait, we can go ahead and set up a wait list here. And you'll notice down here it says no reservations found. There's no reservations listed for this evening. We can also take reservations. Now, not all restaurants use reservations. Now, and there are a lot of restaurants that don't take reservations. But if you guys do take reservations, your managers will set up this function so this displays. If you don't take reservations, your manager will have it set up. You won't even see this word reservations up here, but we do. So let's go ahead and select it. So I've selected, and now I see this calendar. And I have the ability as a host or a hostess to be able to take reservations on a particular day. So we have our day highlighted that we're in right now. If I select that, I have no reservations. If I select that I want to go ahead and create a new reservation on the day, I want to just click Add Entry here. So I select Add Entry. It gives me the ability to put the customer's name, and I'll place that, what the party size is. Let's say it's Rob for a party of 4. I have the date and the time. What time is Rob coming in? Well, let's go ahead and select the time. They're going to come in at 5 o'clock. So I'm going to put 5 o'clock p.m. in here. There we go. I'll save that. So we've got our date, 10/3. We've got 5. I can enter the phone number if these folks want to be called, maybe to remind them of the reservation, or texted. I have the ability, or I can select none. I also have the ability to put in notes. Perhaps Rob prefers a corner booth, or perhaps it's Rob's birthday. And maybe our restaurant does some sort of celebration for birthdays. We can put notes. But if you look at this, this is kind of what we used to do on paper. You know, we write all that information down. Now you can do it right inside the POS system, and it's all linked together. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel that reservation because I'm not going to make a reservation for myself tonight. But this is the host mode. And again, if you are a host or a hostess, or you fill that kind of capacity as a cashier or whatnot, you'll want to make sure you sign up for our employee host webinar, because we go into a lot of detail on this as well. Okay, so we talked caller ID, we talked host, we talked order tab. Now you'll see a manager tab over here, but most of you will not see that particular tab unless you fulfill manager functions, management functions. Then your owner or your manager will go ahead and set that up so that you have access to that tab. We're not going to cover that today because most of our employees don't have access to that tab. We're going to go ahead and look at this last tab up here, and that's the customer tab. So I select customer, and this takes me into that customer database. This is where all the information is accessed. We can modify a lot of this information and whatnot. I want to take you back to that order entry screen. And I want to show you that if we're going to open a ticket, right here, So this little icon here, that also takes us to the customer database. If I'm in the host mode, this takes me to the customer database. So you can see there's a lot of different ways that we can access the customer database, because if we're gathering all this information about our regular customers, we want to be able to gather or to connect to that information quickly. But let's go back to the main customer tab, and this gets us into the main part of the customer database. And there's a bunch of stuff we can do here. We can add new customers. We can sort this list. We can page through this list. But let's go ahead and select a customer. In this case, we'll talk to Henry customer, and we'll select that. Just by selecting that tile, we can get a lot of information about Henry customer. We can go ahead and add Henry customer to any tickets that we opened. We can edit Henry customer's information. We can look at past orders that Henry customer has had. This gives us all the past orders that he has had. I'm just going to select one here. In this case, it was Hawaiian pizzas, 2 Hawaiian pizzas. Maybe Henry customer orders that every time they're in. And if that's the case, I just have to click this blue button down here and it'll create that ticket for me. So there's a lot of things we can do here as well. We can always edit the customer's information. We can do that from the profile page, and we can do that from the order page as well. Now, it depends on your particular business or restaurant, but you guys might use house accounts. And a house account is one of those accounts where I think a lot of golf courses or country clubs have house accounts where the customer will have an account there, and the business will actually bill them for what they buy in liquor or in food or in services. They'll just go ahead and send them a bill. We have the ability to set this up as well. And this is something your managers will set up for you. I just wanted to show you that the house account can be connected through that customer portal as well here, the customer database as well. So let's go back to the profile. Let me point out a couple of things here. We have the ability to add phone numbers, addresses, emails, but here's something that'll come in really handy if you're a server, and that's this comment section. We can put in information about this customer. You can pull this information up in a second through SkyTab POS when you have a regular customer coming in. Maybe it's a regular to the restaurant, but you've never waited on them before. So I can pull this comment section up and see that Henry customer has nut allergies and prefers a booth. So whether I'm a server or a host, I can see that Henry customer prefers a booth. And if I can make that happen, I can make Henry customer's day even better. So the comment section really comes in handy. And you can add that by clicking Edit Customer Information. And this is just a free text, free form you can go ahead and fill in as you're going along. Okay. Let's look at 2 more items and we'll kind of wrap this webinar up. You have 2 pieces here when you're placing orders and whatnot. You can log out of the screen, and if I select log out, that's going to take me out of SkyTab POS. That is not going to log or clock me out. I'm still clocked in. All I've done is logged out of the system. So if I'm using a terminal and I've punched in my 4-digit PIN, I've placed my order, of course I want to log out of that terminal so the next person can use the terminal. So I would select that log out. Let me clock back or log back in here, and you can see that log out button takes me out. Then we have this one in the upper right, which is our clock in, clock out. So now my shift is done. I'm closing out my shift. I'm going to go ahead and select that, and I'm going to clock out. Now, SkyTab's not going to let me clock out, just so you know, because I had tickets opened. I haven't cashed those drawers out yet, but I'm going to go ahead and select clock out. I'm going to go ahead and declare the amount of cash tips that I had. And as you can see, SkyTab's going to give me a warning and said, you've not counted your till yet. So I got to cancel that, and I need to perform a cash count. Remember that $20 personal till? I need to settle that up. I need to make sure that the house gets the money that I collected from them for that drink that I sold earlier. So if I select perform cash count, we can see that I have my bill here, and then I'm going to go ahead and close this till. And yes, I'm sure I want to close the till. And $25.45 is what I owe the house for what I've rang up so far. The drink and then the 2 Hawaiian pizzas. So I can either print that or I can just select finish and complete that till. You'll learn a lot more about this when we get into the employee tickets and orders function. We go through all of how you count the money down and perform the cash count and close your till. But for now, since this is just an overview, I just wanted to show you that SkyTab is not going to let you clock out until you have all your functions completed. Now let's go ahead and let's clock out. I've already entered my tips, and it says clock out and end my shift. I'm going to go ahead and select OK. And again, here we have that shift report. If you recall the shift report, I'm waiting for the screen to catch up here. Okay, and this is the shift report that we had earlier. So I'm going to select done, and it has me clocked out. Okay. We have actually come full circle. Just kind of an introducing of SkyTab POS. We went ahead and we looked at all of the information about that main login screen. We also looked at how you actually log in, how you clock in, how we use the 4-digit PIN versus the swipe card. We talked about general navigation from the order entry screen, from the host screen. Great information there. And the customer database. We talked about the customer database. Now, there's a lot more information on both the order piece, servers taking orders, and on the host piece in some webinars that we have coming up. So you'll want to make sure that if you fill those functions, or you're a bartender, if you need those functions, that you tune in to that webinar. You can register for that webinar and any of our other webinars at SkyTab.com. We also have a bunch of videos there that are really helpful to employees, and we have other documents that are there as well. So when you go to SkyTab.com, there's a tab called the Learn tab. If you go under the Learn tab, you'll see the Resource Center. And once you select the Resource Center, that's when you're going to have access to all of these things. Scroll down a little bit, and it's going to ask you if you want to take the track for managers or take the track for employees. Now, as an employee, you'll want to take that employee track. That'll open up all the different videos, all of the different documents, and the webinars that are specific to what you do as an employee. So, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned SkyTab.com, and you'll want to go to the Resource Center, which you're going to find under the Learn tab. I certainly want to thank you for viewing our webinar today. Again, just an introduction to the navigation of SkyTab. We get much more detailed in the host function, much more detailed in the employee webinar for servers, tickets, and orders. Please feel free to sign up for those and any of our webinars and take a look at our videos at SkyTab.com in the Resource Center under the Learning tab. Thank you very much for your attention, and everybody have a great day today.